I think for me was really back in 1985 when I started the company. That I was, again, as I said, I was working in a creative setting. And so I was very lucky in that I had all of those resources available to me. I was working in a theatre space. We had costume designers, lighting designers. We had people who were professionals in the creative industry. So I had all of that support when we kind of decided we wanted to develop a performance company.
I guess I'd call myself a dance appreciator, dance supporter, promoter, and I've been involved in dance from very young, actually. But when I hit, I'd say when I was in my younger adult years, I started getting into African dance. And I started when I was living in California. And then from California, I moved to Europe. I got very much exposed to African dance, and I got used to taking classes on a regular basis. I also moved to Abidjan. I was there for a while, and I danced quite a bit while I was there. So when I came to the UK, I realized that some of the styles that I was used to dancing, because I had been dancing quite frequently there, I wasn't able to find when I got here. So I decided to sort of put something together and start, because I had met so many of the teachers at the time, and they all would call and say, well, you know, do you need us to come over? Do we need this, that? So that's how I sort of started Feel the Rhythm Productions.
So again, I mentioned we have these companies. A dancer's lifespan, if you're really lucky, you know, is a good 10-year time frame, 15-year, like if you're lucky. And then you get in there, you perform, and then what happens after your performance life? Where do you go next? Many of our dancers always talk about wanting to stay within the field, but they do not have the knowledge or the wherewithal, particularly in the business side of the performing arts. Let's also ensure that you have those other skills, those other applicable skills that you'll be able to utilize as you, you know, through your matriculation within a company, or, you know, your performance career within a company. And that just makes it all the world, it just makes it better. It makes it better because now you're able to continue. And we've seen this with a number of our artists who are able to make that transition from being perhaps a principal dancer, opening up their own company, or joining another company in an artistic capacity or an administrative capacity to carry work of our organizations.
I'd like to start with our work with Pulse Studios. Pulse Studios is a production and media company based here in Lagos, Nigeria. Pulse Studios was officially inaugurated in 2011, but we've been around. We're doing trainings and teachings at schools and trying to generate new talent and new voices for the industry through the school avenue. So we did private schools, secondary schools, as well as the universities. We'll go there, teach them dance, drama, help direct their final year performances and all of that. So we did that for 5 to 6 years before we officially launched Pulse Studios.
And that's always been the conversation. One of the things that we like, that's why creating the platforms and creating opportunities, I'll talk about the Black Space Symposium and how important it is. It's a platform that we created to highlight creatives and professionals, artists within our local community, but it's also it's a hybrid space, so it happens online. And the entire conversation is about trying to pull as many people from around the world who see the same vision to come and share in the discourse or be a part of a panel and have that dialogue. Because to solve this problem, it's going to take all those people to do it. It's a global thing, Anti-Blackness is global. it's not something that racism is something that's it's its own pandemic. It exists all around the planet. So it's something that collectively we all have to be a part of. And so I think that what our goal is to be like, hey, to wave a flag in our community locally, but as well elevate the platform to where people across the globe can also hop in the conversation and be like, hey, they're also having the conversation over here. Because it's so empowering to know and loving to know that there's somebody else out there like you trying to do the same thing. Because a lot of times you feel so siloed and isolated, because this taking on this isn't a glamorous thing.
Yep.
It's not something that people like flock to and be like, oh yeah, let's, you know, it could be very difficult and like and stressful, but like ultimately it's worth it.
I think you got to understand that a lot of these mechanisms are for commercial purposes, so they're embracing it from a commercial lens. So if you're doing that all the time, that all they want to know is how many people are following you, who's following you, what, you know. But it's also about what's being said, because you know, and we also and also we're a communicative people. We, you know, if one thing COVID made me realize is that we need each other. Like what people are missing, the reason why you're getting, you know, these illegal raves and people being fined £10,000 is because they've missed being around each other.
For real.
And you know, I mean, the advantage was we were closer, you know, to our families, our immediate families. But the disadvantage is that, you know, how we evolve as people is that we have to mingle. We have to mingle with people who are not like us. And so I think what social media does at its best is it opens you up to people like you, but also to people who are not like you. At its worst, it can be very sterile in the sense that, you know, you're only looking for people like yourself. So you can create any community you want in social media. But one thing I realized there's, you know, whether you can either be using it as a business tool, or you can be using it as, some people are using it as an actual friend. But you know, I try to download some of my online engagement. So I know like if you look at my site, I know quite a few people, but it's important, you know, the tangible people are just as important. And sometimes we can be scrolling through our phones, not knowing that the person you want to talk to is right.
I would ask people to go and look at what is somatic. Somatic is a term now that a lot of other bodies are using. Soma, it's body and mind. It's the integration of the body and the mind, you know, in that way. And then you had somebody named Thomas Hanna. There's a lot of other people, Martha Eddy, who, you know, I'm doing some work with her, training with her at the moment. But she was the one person actually turned around and said what I was doing as an African dance was a somatic practice. And, you know, she's white, but she was the first person to actually say, well, what you are doing is this. When we work with poetry, when we work with spoken word, when we work in different ways in terms of our movement, what she saw that I was doing, she identified that way.
Reimagining, and just we had to at the beginning really reassess who we are and what we were doing, because what we usually do is present, and we get a venue and we get a studio and we bring in people and we do that, you know, that was all gone. So how, you know, how were we relevant right now to the community that we serve, you know? So number one was strengthening who we are so that we could serve, right? You know, looking at the infrastructure, and it really gave you time because we weren't in the office and had to do all the things that you usually do. So it gave us time to strengthen, and working from home, which also gave you some freedom. And although we were on Zoom and stuff, it really gave you time to come together, go away, think, and work. Also just being there for the community, talking to them. What do they want? What, you know, because really they have really been affected, you know.
I feel like you see the international for you to be international, I feel like it's within. So we've all had our journeys, and we come from different places. So we do cover the Asian community, we do cover the Black community, and we happen to be in Europe already as it is. So we cover that community as well, just from where we are and what we're around, you know. So our music.
That's the diaspora. That's the diaspora, basically. Different.
Yeah. Naturally, like the international feel is literally within, but it's just about where you're planting your seeds and how it's growing. So so back home, like I'm originally from Angola. I've lived in Portugal and all of this sort of stuff. Like I'll give you a small example. When we done a project, I think it was like a year and a half ago. So today it plays on in I believe it's Venezuela and Chile, to the point where these guys, like, they've always told me, hey, listen, come over, we love your music over here. Like Portugal, it plays in Portugal, and it's like, because it's got the Portuguese swing to it, so all of these places where they listen to that sort of sound, they naturally connect with it, you know, and that travels. But then it's like, that's the least to say. Obviously, like Wild Boy, he's from Nigeria, so you hear a lot of stuff that goes back there, and the radio might support over there. Then we have like big relations in Sweden, like, which is people that we connect with. Like, we've been connecting for like 2-3 years now, and we just build everywhere we go. We build. We're like a bright spark in there, and like I said, the international is within, and that's how we carry out. So that's part of our journey.
For the narrations, I was thinking along the lines of, because I've always wanted to be a voice artist. My wife knows I like to mimic things, mimic people, all sorts of accents and things. And when I realized that there is a very big opportunity in audiobooks that has not been, like, audiobooks from people of African descent. The only audiobook I've listened to is Hufia's Death by Nedi Okorafor. And so I was like, that is an opportunity right there. And that is something I could do when I'm not dancing, when I'm not making my films. It is something. And also you have all these set books for literature in school, like those are the examinable. No one's reading them, like no one's doing audio versions of that. And it's so much easier to consume that as opposed to reading all the time. So all those are opportunities that had not been considered before. I mean, I listen to a lot of audio things, podcasts and things. And I used to be a radio presenter. I was there for 6 months, but I really enjoyed it. And I thought, you know, there are people who are like me who would be interested in listening to these things. So it's about just seeing what opportunities are out there for me based on what I'm interested in and taking that on. And, you know, my friends gave me those pieces. I narrated them, and I thought, you know, I could parlay that into something that could bring me some money, which I could channel into something else, you know, and it's still at its infancy, and it's more of a proof of concept, and who knows?